Hey, I'm Gretchen Bridgers of the Always a Lessons Empowering Educators podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Coming up on episode 139 of the House of EdTech podcast, are you obsessed with EdTech? I'm also going to talk about my cheese getting moved, and I've got a great recommendation for bibliographies and citations. Strike up the band. Welcome to the House of EdTech podcast. I am your host, Chris Nesi. The House of EdTech explores how technology is changing the way teachers teach and the impact that technology is having in education. I discuss technology that is changing our classrooms and schools, and I share tools and tips that you can hear today and use tomorrow. You're going to hear the stories of teachers, leaders, and creators just like you. The purpose? Whether you use it or not, technology is changing the way you teach and how your students learn. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're listening. Thank you for making House of EdTech part of your anytime, anywhere professional development. This is my first episode of the 2019-2020 school year. And you know what that means? We're almost near the end of the year. September, October, November, December. And that means the 2019 House of EdTech Smackdown is coming. If you're new to the podcast, this is my last episode of the calendar year where you are the star of the show. My goal each year is to have you and other listeners share their favorite EdTech tips, tools, apps, and programs, and more. I prefer audio clips as this is an audio podcast, and you can submit your audio by going to chrisnesi.com/feedback. If you want to send me an email with attached audio, just put Smackdown 2019 in the subject line, and you can send that over to feedback@chrisnesi.com. Now, no matter how you share what you want to share, you need to get your submissions to me by December 1st, 2019, and this will be episode 147, which is going to be released on December 22nd, 2019. Be sure to include who you are, where you're from, and what your role in education is, and then talk about your favorite EdTech item, and also let us know how we can connect with you. I always look forward to the end of the year because I love what the House of EdTech community will share. Now, also, I just want to announce that this episode does not contain a Just Give It a Try segment. For those of you who are new to the show, or maybe you're tuning in for the first time in a while, the Just Give It a Try segment is the part of the show where I go out to the Just Give It a Try Flipgrid that I have set up, and I share your stories about what you have done in the classroom. I end each episode by saying using technology isn't difficult, just give it a try. And this is your time in the show to share something that worked, it didn't work, what you learned. It's an opportunity to reflect with the whole House of EdTech community. Now, if you want to do that, just go out to chrisnesi.com/flipgrid. On recent episodes, we heard from Brian Carpenter and Khaled Anchor. So this is a way that you can also be a part of a future episode of the show. Enough out of me. Let's go listen to more me as we do the EdTech Thought. This episode's EdTech Thought I am calling Who Moved My Cheese? Now, let's get right into it. This school year started off kind of aggravating. I'm going to be honest with you here, folks. I got, after the last 2 years of having one classroom, I now have 2 classrooms. So I'm now a traveling teacher. But I can't feel too bad for myself because everybody in my school, other than music teachers, art teachers, some science teachers that need to be in specific specialized physical locations in the school, everybody in my school is now a traveling teacher. And I have a new in-class support teacher that I'm working with this year. So I'm not working with my friend Brian, who I worked with the last 2 years, who just a couple of weeks ago, we live pretty close to each other, and I went over to his house, and we actually started to do some planning for September and October. And now we're not working together. Why do I share this? Well, as I started to become aggravated and annoyed and just frustrated at having to move classrooms and not have a true place to, call my own, I became frustrated and annoyed. And then I remembered my experience at Caldwell University, where I did my post-bac teaching certification. And I had a professor whose name was Walter Similewski, called him Dr. C. And in a number of the classes I took with Dr. C, he would, from time to time in our class meetings, he would use what he called a wisdom book with a bunch of adults, which is a children's story book that's got some wisdom and some sage advice. And one of the times he did this, well, one of the funniest ones was he once read us Walter the Farting Dog, which is a great book if you've never read Walter the Farting Dog. I'll include a link in the show notes. He used the book Who Moved My Cheese? Now, for some reason, when the new classrooms, the frustration of not in the third week of August knowing what I was teaching or who any of my students were, in this frustration, I remembered for some reason Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. And I went out to YouTube and I watched a maybe 14, 15 minute video that goes through the Who Moved My Cheese story. And I guess it popped into my head because I needed to realize and remember that the cheese is going to move, that thing that you count on, that thing that you expect, it can change. So some nuggets that I pulled out of the story. Number one, when you change what you believe, you change what you do. So something I changed was my outlook on having 2 classrooms and traveling and a different schedule and a new in-class support teacher to work with. I now believe that these are good things. It's not just me who has to travel. Everybody's traveling. So there's no sense in complaining about it. There are benefits to moving and seeing different parts of the building. So I have to change my approach. Another nugget that I pulled out was change happens. They keep moving the cheese. So I'm very fortunate that for 2 years I had one classroom in one place, and this year is going to be fine. Because I'm going to make it fine. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to build rapport with my students. It doesn't matter that I have to walk and go to another classroom. It doesn't matter that I have a new in-class support teacher that I'll be working with, because they're also a professional. I know this person. His name is Dan, and he's a great guy. It's going to be really fun to work with him. I've had conversations with him. Sure, I'm going to miss Brian, but our classrooms are right next to each other, and we'll be able to talk and collaborate, and we'll find new ways to do things. So it's going to be just fine. And the other nugget that I pulled out was adapt to change quickly. The quicker you let go of the old, you can enjoy the new. And really, I started to do that even before I went out and watched the video on YouTube, Who Moved My Cheese? So I have adapted to change quickly. I went in for 2 days. I brought the boys with me and set up one of the classrooms. And I'm quickly adapting to my new environment. I've since gotten my teaching assignment, so I know I'm teaching world history again in the 2019-2020 school year. So I think everything is going to work out. But I just needed to know and reinforce the idea that it's not about the characters, Hammond and Haw, it's going to be fine. I'm excited for the new school year. Sure, my cheese was moved, but I have found new cheese. And I'm going to continue to look around and find those opportunities that are going to bring me joy in the school that I work in and in education and all the other things that I do. So if your cheese was moved, it's okay. The cheese is going to move. What do you do when the cheese is moved? Change what you believe. Remember, change is going to keep happening. And adapt quickly. And that's my EdTech thought. Got a great recommendation for you here on this episode of the House of EdTech. Again, all the links to everything I share will be out at chrisnessy.com/139. And today's recommendation is writinghouse.org. Writing House is a free bibliography and citation maker. It allows you to generate citations in various referencing styles, including MLA, APA, Chicago, and Harvard. There is also a section on the website featuring good resources to learn more about what a bibliography actually is and how to create one using these different styles. And there are two ways that you can create citations within Writing House. The first is manual, where you get to choose the source you want to cite. Then you type in its corresponding info, such as the title, edition, place, year of publication, all those fun things that go into a citation. And the second way is automatic and consists of using the search function, which is provided by WorldCat within Writing House. And then Writing House will conduct a quick search and provide you with relevant results. Once a bibliography is compiled, a user can then download a copy to keep or copy and paste. And the price for all of this? Free. For more, you can go out to writinghouse.org and maybe add this as an option for your students. And that's my House of EdTech recommendation. For the featured content, I ask in the title of this episode, are you obsessed with education technology? I sometimes get obsessed. I've been obsessed. I know I'm going to get obsessed again, because getting obsessed with new gadgets and tech is way too easy. And the world of education that you and I work in is not immune to this. From demos at conferences or reviews and recommendations from a fellow teacher, heck, that's what I do here. EdTech easily finds a way to get on top of anyone's wish list. You know, we're all about the stuff. But the problem lies in that products and services are often purchased based on the bells and whistles, rather than the actual impact on student learning. I say this knowing I'm about to walk into my new classrooms and I will be playing with a device called Catchbox. Catchbox is a wireless, plush, enclosed microphone that can be tossed around the room and it gets connected to a classroom sound system, or it can be connected in a large space where you want people to speak into a microphone. They sent me a unit to try for a month, and I'll be talking more about Catchbox in detail coming up on episode 142. So I'm excited about one little physical thing, and I'm excited to play with the tech, but I need to see over a period of time, is it actually valuable in the classroom? Now, I'm fortunate to get to do this having not laid out any money, and I get to try it out, and then I get to talk about it. But again, that's for episode 142. But whether you're settling into a new school year like me at this point in time, or you just read about a cool new EdTech device or got to play with something at a conference, keep the following three things in mind to make sure you're investing in the best EdTech products available and that they meet your students' needs. Number one, let's talk about being adaptable. Search for products that have multiple learning levels built in. If the device is only capable of teaching one skill, then it won't prove useful throughout the school year as your students grow and advance their skills. Tech products for classroom use must have the capability to increase or decrease in difficulty depending on the skill base of the child using the device. Technology with lessons that progress in difficulty are ideal for the classroom because not only do they allow students to improve, but they also allow other students at different skill levels to use the same product during the same lesson. Products that support continued and varied use have a greater value to you as an educator because they can be accessed throughout the year instead of just at the beginning or just at the end. Number 2, let's talk about customization. EdTech products with constant background sounds, flashing lights, and other distracting features can be disruptive to the educational environment. An integral part of any EdTech program search is to make sure that the product won't distract you or your students. Find devices that will fuse into your existing classroom culture. A sound EdTech investment will be one that enables a new platform for children to learn while serving as a teaching tool that doesn't distract or undermine the goals of a focused classroom. Another important aspect to consider is the ability to adjust audio-visible displays. It is vital that you as the educator can customize EdTech for every learning environment that you encounter. If the students prefer a quieter classroom, the best EdTech products should be able to accommodate that need. And number 3, interactiveness. It has been proven that children have an easier time understanding fundamental theories when they physically interact with their learning tools. Interactive products are no stranger to the EdTech market. Many companies have created devices that do not sacrifice hands-on learning and its benefits. When looking for classroom tools, find EdTech devices that require physical manipulation instead of products that are completely digital. Your students need an aspect of physical movement with their learning tools to help them visualize and comprehend key concepts. For example, interactive technology is especially useful for elementary-level math teachers. Grounding mathematical concepts in physical manipulation will help students better understand what math and numbers are truly representing. As the EdTech market continues to expand, it becomes increasingly difficult to sift through all the educational products at your disposal. In selecting EdTech tools for your school or classroom, it is important to keep in mind what these products were created for, helping you and your students in the learning process. Don't forget to utilize these 3 tips as a sort of helpful guide, and be sure to put in the appropriate amount of research to guarantee that you are making the most informed EdTech investment. And now it's time for the House of EdTech VIP. Congratulations to Pam Hubler. Pam is a Google certified trainer who has taught in special education and general education over the last 14 years. She has a bachelor's degree in specific learning disabilities for K-12, and she also has a master's degree in elementary education. Pam resides in South Carolina and has had many new learning opportunities as a personalized learning coach, special ed intervention teacher, a technology integration specialist, and she now serves as an instructional coach. She's on Twitter, of course, so make sure you go follow Pam. She is at Special Techie on Twitter. And go check out her blog and website at spedtechgeek.com. Congratulations, Pam. You are a House of EdTech VIP. Well, thanks for checking out episode 139 of the House of EdTech podcast. Keep the conversation going. I would love to connect with you and hear your thoughts on the information and resources that I shared in this episode. For more, you can go out to chrisnessy.com/139. Or you can send a message by going to chrisnessy.com/feedback. If you enjoy the House of EdTech, do 2 things for me. First and foremost, go tell somebody about the podcast. Go to your faculty room, send an email, send a text, tell somebody else about the podcast. Just one person. That would be great. If you do it on social media, use the hashtag HouseofEdTech. and then I see it. The other thing you can do is you can also become an awesome supporter of the show. My Awesome Supporter initiative is powered by Patreon, which allows a consumer of content like you to support a creator of content like me. Many thanks to my awesome supporters, Anthony Arnault of the New Teacher Podcast at newteacher.org, Eric Kurtz from the Control-Alt-Achieve podcast at controlaltachieve.com, Dan Gallagher. Find his writings and musings at gallaghertech.edublogs.org, Carlos Garza from the Aced Tech podcast, Mr. G. Find that at aced.tech. Peggy George from Classroom 2.0 Live. The incomparable Jen Giffen from Shooks and GIF the podcast. Find that at bit.ly/shooksandgif. Jeff Herb from instructionaltechtalk.com. Mike Messner. Find him on Twitter at teachermike72. JP Prezavento, host of the Bits and Bytes of Education podcast. Check him out at jpprez.com. Thank you to Lynn Smargis. She is at Lynn Smargis on Twitter. Also, go check out her podcast, Travel Gluten Free, which you can find at travelglutenfree.com. And Scott Titmus from New Jersey. You might know him from his awesome Flipgrid stuff. Connect with him on Twitter at SDTitmus. And Kyle Wilcox. Thank you, Kyle. Connect with Kyle at Level Up Ed Tech on Twitter. Thank you to everybody for all your support. And if you are interested in becoming the next awesome supporter, go to chrisnessy.com/awesome. The next episode of the House of Ed Tech is episode 140, and that's going to come at you on September 15th, 2019. I also co-host Podcast PD, and episode 55 is going to be released on September 11th. Until next time, thanks for learning with me, and remember, using technology isn't difficult, just give it a try.